Humor has always been something really valuable to me because it's a way to disarm your viewer. I'm not presenting work that is like confrontational. It's soft, it's plush, it's something where you can get close to it. I want to draw people in, but then ideally we would all have a moment of reflection to see how we're all collectively complicit in buttressing some of these systems. A lot of my art centers around late capitalism and the inequities that arise as a result of it. I have spent the better part of my career in product design. With my design work, I'm somewhat complicit in perpetuating some of the things that enable those inequities. I think the art just helps me process it in some ways. So much of modernist ideals and aesthetics was about the removal of any superfluous detail for the ease of technological production. With my artwork, it's actually very much the opposite of that. Most of the stuff is handmade. There's a certain amount of resourcefulness that I think my parents encouraged when we were little. Like, we would be given a shoebox and suddenly that shoebox became a diorama. You know, we would work on collaborative pieces. Like, there's this one collage that's made up of drawings that my sister did, that I did, and that my mom did on a canvas. So now sometimes I will sketch, usually in the form of collages, to mock up an idea. If you look at the photos on my phone, you would probably be like, what's wrong with this person? Because she has moldy bread on there. She's got like, I'm just like constantly just like grabbing and like, yeah. I might look at photos online of what a baguette looks like, you know, how do the scores look, what are the patterns, and then try to figure out what's the best way to replicate that in fabric. I want the craft to be good enough where it's almost invisible, not intentionally artful or messy. When someone encounters the work, I don't want them to get necessarily hung up on the craft. I want them to see it as a whole. Favorite part of the process is when something kind of comes into focus, when you are able to figure out what that tiny detail is that like makes something come together, animates it, brings it to life. A lot of us were forced to take on multitasking at a level that we haven't before. So what better than a Roomba that could be motoring around your house, who had multiple arms and multiple hands. You know, it was meant to be a little cheeky, a little bit like, what is that hand gonna do while it vacuums? A lot of the burden and the onus of the pandemic has fallen on women, particularly parents. They were shouldering the majority of the work in the home. So in many ways, Hanba is a homage to them. I didn't set out to make a show about COVID. I tend to work relatively fast and responsive to the moment, so that's what the show ended up kind of being about. So one of the themes that I'm addressing with this particular body of work is around this idea of consumption, both literally and metaphorically, whether it was baking sourdough loaves, posting it on Instagram, or whether it was consumption in the sense of like us doom scrolling. I am personally complicit, and especially during the pandemic when I couldn't run out and necessarily get some specific art supply that I needed. I could just go on Amazon and, click and order it. And so there's a critique there that is both of Amazon and of ourselves, and how oftentimes the ease and the convenience might win at the expense of others. I think we're all interested in food because food is a lens into culture and into people. Food and foodie culture tends to happen on a really fast cycle. It's an audience that is particularly, pardon the pun, particularly like ravenous for the new. What's the new restaurant? What are you cooking at home? Who's the rising chef? It is a way in which we're all bonded by our consumption. I just envisioned everyone suddenly being forced to face this reality in which we would be cooking every day. People just staring blankly in their cupboard, realizing they had chickpeas and setting out to make the stew. I named the piece #OurStew. It was something that felt collective and felt like this cultural moment of us all doing this at home, and so creating it larger to represent that it was something that we're all doing. Especially during the pandemic, it's a way to travel to places that we can't access, but we can experience and we can see and we can almost taste in some ways. There are moments of levity in the show, and there are moments that are a little bit more somber. When I was hearing about the rise in anti-Asian violence, my sister and I were having a text exchange around what we should do for our parents. I was thinking about the video camera and how it's played such an important role in our own racial reckoning. It's like only when these things are captured on video do we believe the victims. This piece felt a little bit different for me, honestly, from the rest of the show. I thought about the phone camera as a piece of armor. By making it huge and wearing it on your back, wearing it on your body, would it force the would-be perpetrator to see themselves in the mirror, see themselves like reckoning with sort of who they are and what they're about to do? And then I put the ring light on it. I'm gonna allow you to see yourself in the best light possible. And hopefully that will deter your actions of, committing any acts of violence. And so that's what's behind that piece. My time offline and time in the realm of tactile things is personally important to me. I'm a huge walker. I love experiencing the world at that pace and that scale. It's the act of walking, the act of seeing, the act of serendipity, the act of discovery. I gravitate towards sculptures and the 3D very much because it's not in the flatland of designing. It's gratifying to create something physical, not something that could be closed out by command queuing. Something real.